happen, and it has happened, where a person has left the service, and they go into the IR, the Individual Ready Reserve, which is a non-active reserve part of the military that is only called up in special circumstances, such as war. And we have had instances of people who have been reactivated after they have separated, but were still in the IRR and did face an investigation after that. So it can happen. It's very rare, and I would say it's probably less than 1% of the actual investigations that at least we've seen with SLDN, but it can happen. So the threat is still there.
Okay, I have another question.
There's one more complication, and that is if the gay person, when they get out of the service, has a lover who's still in the service, they still have to keep everything closeted. It's very, very tough, and I have a lot of friends in that situation, and it's god-awful. You know, they work 20, 30 years for the military, they've kept in the closet, and now they have to be in the closet another 5 or 10 years because their lover is still working for the military.
Okay, now what if a person comes home with no arms and no legs, and he's just completely disabled, and they said, hey, you know, Uncle Sam says, I'm sorry, you're incapacitated, no arms, no legs, and then they find out almost like right then and there that this person is a gay man. Are they going to give him all of his medical benefits, give him a job, or are they just going to just let him say, sorry?
The very first Marine or soldier injured in this current war lost a leg. He was also gay. His name is Eric Alva. Eric Alva testified last year at Susan Davis's hearing to support the argument repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He still has his benefits. He served this war, he paid a big price, and now he's being taken care of like any other veteran should be.
The issue of benefits is based upon the length of time a person has served in the military. The honorable discharge with no marks on that record does not change after they get out. So the answer is no. That service member, unless there's a reserve issue, would still receive all of the benefits.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other? Yes.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a point that Lisa brought up. Is I worked for a number of years for a indirect for the DoD, working for a contractor, and I had 14 years experience with them and a very good track record. But now that I'm a transgender person, I did kind of come out on the job, and part of that was I didn't see my career kind of hit a ceiling, and I wanted to move into other things anyway. So I left, but I do know now that as out as I am, and being a trans person, that there's no availability, there's no available jobs in that career for me now. Because you were talking about the civil servants, we're talking about the military, but with the change of the military in this, it's going to affect the civil servants, and I think there's a whole bunch of people in the contract arena that get pushed aside as well. And so, yeah, I think we're talking about it'll go beyond just the people in the military.
I also have experiences working as a consultant and as a prime contractor after I got out of the military. And I do know, having also had these people work for me as a civil servant, that whatever goes on in the Department of Defense, this by osmosis also happens in those companies that are aligned with the Department of Defense. And so that we cannot partition the prejudice of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. If they are going to be prejudiced against the lesbian, gays, bisexuals, and transgenders that are in the military, they are still going to also be prejudiced against that same group of people, whether they're civilians or contractors. And it's a very painful and hostile environment right now because people are taught in that environment that it is okay to stereotype and dehumanize an entire group of humanity. And that is why this is so unbelievably wrong. and it should have never happened in the first place. Bill Clinton did not do us any favors.
Hi, my name is Anna Curran, and I serve on the Board of Service Members Legal Defense Network with Mike McGee. One of the issues we haven't brought up yet tonight is why this discrimination and why this even exists. And from my perspective, and I was born in a British colony and grew up there, but the ignorance there was just at the time that I was growing up and a young person trying to figure out why I felt like I was from a different planet, was no more enlightened than it was anywhere else here. But the big problem, we've got a couple of problems. Number one is the ignorance. And don't confuse ignorance with stupidity. It is just plain ignorance. We are not dumb people in this country, and they just don't know. I just came back from LA today where I had lunch with an attorney. And every time I've talked with him, I keep bringing up SLDN and the work I do with SLDN. It's not in his sphere of knowledge at all. People don't think about it. And the biggest thing we can do, the question was asked, what can we do to further this? Well, there's a number of things. Number one, coming out is one of the big things. About a year ago, maybe 8-9 months ago, I went to a conference at the San Diego University, and it was of military chaplains, and it was an international group. There were people there from Great Britain. I think there were some from Australia. There were a lot of Canadians. And they were laughing their heads off at the U.S., the questions from the chaplains in the U.S. Well, does that mean, if we get rid of this, does that mean I'm going to have to marry gay people? I can't do that. And it goes right back to the Bible again and the Christian conservatives. And with the exception of the Mormons, I would say, and probably, unfortunately, the Catholic Church, most religious researchers now know that there's nothing in the Bible that Leviticus is a joke. There is nothing in the Bible. It doesn't even address the issue of homosexuality. And if you go back, there's a wonderful little book that was written about maybe 15 years ago called What the Bible Really Says About Homosexuality. It was done by a Jesuit priest. And he says there's nothing there at all. And, you need to point that out to people. And if that, in fact, is their opinion, that, they still think that we're going to go out, and if you're going to be in the classroom, that you can actually make somebody gay. Gay people shouldn't be raising kids because they're going to raise them gay. Well, forget it. That's the kind of ignorance that you're going to deal with, plus the ecclesiastical crap. But anyway, you could just say, well, that's just your opinion. Religious scholars do not agree with that. And, really, we're kind of a laughingstock around the world because we're still putting up with this. So we step out, and we have to keep the pressure up. The pressure that's on right now, and SLDN has been a big part of that, and we're really proud of that because a couple of years ago, we got a new executive director on board he's terrific. He has a lot of legislative experience on Capitol Hill, and he's the right man for this job right now. But, it's taking all this stuff that's going on now, the anger and everything else, is playing right into where we want to be about a year or so for now, when the legislation starts to really deal with this issue. And I think it will go a lot more smoothly. I have a lot of faith that it's going to happen. But we need to keep the pressure up, and the more we keep the pressure up, the better it's going to go. Anyway, come out, tell them how stupid they are. No, not stupid. Ignorant, and feel sorry for them.